Welcome everyone to the Hurting Humanity channel. Some of the topics being discussed at Davos, in addition to artificial intelligence governance, which of course Donald Trump is bringing to the United States of America while playing the role of being opposed to the globalists at the World Economic Forum. He's literally bringing in their infrastructure. But one of the topics we hear year in and year out is being brought up again, and that is putting an end to online anonymity, which means that people will not be allowed to remain anonymous on the internet, which means the digital ID. Now, this is something that's obviously very important to me and should be very important to you. Now, it's important to me because I like to do what I do online and remain anonymous. I'm not looking for any attention. I'm not looking for people to show up at my front door. I'm not looking for anything other than getting the truth out, getting my opinion out, which most of the time is obviously truthful, as I've backed up over the years. Doesn't mean that I'm not wrong from time to time, but they're obviously hell-bent on this because they like and need and have to control the media, which of course includes the alt-right media. And you see the alt-right media shilling around, throwing their face on every billboard they can, even some of the embarrassing things I've talked about with the Daily Wire, making Hollywood-like movies. This should be about getting the truth out. And if they can't control the truth, then that's a problem to them. They must control the narrative. And I'm going to play for you Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez and this speech that he gave about being anonymous online. And this is how they work in the casual people out there, because they use words like crime. So people automatically think when they hear a speech like this, well, yeah, somebody could be online going after kids, being a predator on the internet, which of course they have no problem with because they can track your IP address. They do track and monitor us on the internet, but they want a digital ID overall. But they could remove all of these internet websites from the actual internet and prevent this problem that happens with perverted older men and young children. But they don't want to do that. All they care about is people like me and you. And they care about what he says, influencing public conversation, because people who are online should not be able to be anonymous because they could be a threat to democracy, which means threatening their global conspiracy that is already in place, that the wheels are churning, that they've already tricked people into believing that there's some of these characters like Donald Trump who are opposed to the New World Order, when in fact they're bringing in the New World Order infrastructure. That's what their job is. They don't want people out there to wake up to that because their power ends when people wake up, when people realize that this entire New World Order is controlled and operated through technology. And the only way to push back, for people out there who might be new to this, the only way to push back is to start removing yourself from dependency on tech and not allowing the government to move forward with technology mandates, like forcing you into online banking or forcing you into an online ID or forcing you to have to buy and sell on the internet. You know, you could actually search the Google algorithm or the Google AI. You know, you type it in now and Google gives you an AI answer, and you could ask Google, what is the beast? And even Google's demonic AI says, yeah, some believe that the internet will be a tool used to facilitate the mark of the beast. The belief is based on the idea that the internet will become a vital tool in the rise of a one world government. It's not hidden. The problem is that people are paying attention to ridiculous issues. They're getting sucked in and drawn in by the alt-right media into debating and arguing things that shouldn't even be arguments and debates in the first place. And of course, people like Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez bring up things like crime and hate speech, which also shouldn't exist in the first place. Hate speech, because hate speech could be turned into anything they want to turn it into. And Democrats are going to start feeling that now with Donald Trump in power, that they can't use their opinions or say their opinions online anymore because they're about to feel a massive censorship wave. Hate speech, of course, is anybody who questions the current government regime, who exposes the New World Order, or, of course, anybody who can influence public conversation is somebody who is going to be a target of people like Pedro Sanchez. Listen to his speech where he talks about one social media user ID, a full-on end to anonymity, and of course, nobody out there should be able to influence public conversation, except, of course, for them and their controlled media, the left and the right, of course, included.
I propose putting an end to anonymity on social media. In our countries, no one can walk the streets with a mask on their face or drive a car without a license plate. No one can send packages without showing an ID or buy a hunting weapon without giving their name. And yet, we are allowing people to roam freely on social networks without linking their profiles to a real identity. This paving the way for misinformation, hate speech, and cyber harassment, because it is facilitating the use of bots, and it is allowing people to act without being held accountable for their actions. Such an anomaly cannot continue. In a democracy, citizens have the right to privacy, not to anonymity or impunity, because with those two, social coexistence would be impossible. That is why I believe we must push forward the principle of pseudonymity as the functioning element of social media, and force all these platforms to link every user account to an European digital identity wallet. This way, citizens could use nicknames if they want, but in the case of a crime, public authorities will be able to connect those nicknames to real people and hold them responsible. Because accountability is not an obstacle to freedom of speech. It is an essential complement to it. On social media user, or it's much better to say, one social media user, one real ID. This is the only way to really ensure that minors do not access inappropriate content, that people who commit crimes are banned or prosecuted from social networks, and that the millions of fake profiles that exist and influence the public conversation are removed.
So this has been a plan of theirs for a long time, and we're going to have to wait and see how Donald Trump starts implementing a digital ID moving forward. We know that on the surface, Donald Trump is bringing these things in, but he's using deception to make people not even realize that he's bringing about these new world order infrastructure strategies like AI governance, like buying Canada and Greenland and the Club of Rome's 10 Kingdom plan. And the digital ID is likely going to loom in America based on all of the stuff and the psychological operations you hear with the border, and how we'll be able to track people with digital IDs who cross the border, because they won't be able to cross without a digital ID. There won't be any more fake IDs. There won't be anybody sneaking across the border because they'll have a surveillance state in place. So this has obviously been a globalist plan for quite some time. They've talked about the digital ID at Davos for many, many years, and they're going to continue to hammer it home. And part of the reason they're not pushing it forward yet is because they need to hammer it home first. So they talk about crimes. They talk about young kids online who might be getting bullied is one of the narratives they like to use. So parents out there think about their kids and naturally care about their children, hopefully this day and age. And they say to themselves, well, I don't want my child to get bullied by somebody online. We can't track them down. Or, of course, they like to use this stuff with the events that the government themselves create at schools and other false flag events that they actually carry out themselves with Operation Orion. And they want you to think that these kids are online and they're writing all these dangerous things online, but they're anonymous. And if we actually were able to find who they were in the first place with the digital ID, then they wouldn't be committing these crimes in the first place. These are all things that they're using. These are tactics they're using to convince people that a digital ID is needed. They need a digital ID to track and monitor everything you do, every movement you make, literally every breath you take, which is the carbon footprint, which of course they're talking about again at Davos, but literally every single thing you buy. And some people out there say, well, I already buy stuff online. Look, all this smart tech is to track and monitor every breath you take, every move you make. It's literally that insane and it's that deep. And anybody out there who is too simple-minded to realize it, wake up. Because most people go, well, I don't care. What do they want to track how many times I fart? Oh, yeah, they do. Because haven't you heard that's part of your carbon emission as well? I mean, Bill Gates has openly talked about that, right? Passing gas, well, that goes against your carbon credit system. That's what the goal is, to enslave humanity, and a digital ID is needed. And of course, the thing they fear, the only thing they fear when it comes to anonymity on the internet is people like us. Because once they silence us one time, we won't be able to come back. You won't be able to have 85 channels going on 86 soon, right? For anyone out there that gets that reference. You won't be able to constantly make channels on YouTube and fight against them, which most people don't do. Most people give up and then they go where the government tells them to go, right? They want you to do what they tell you to do. Haven't you noticed? They remove you from YouTube, and what do they want you to do? They want you to go to Rumble. How many comments do I get per video? Go to Rumble, go to Odyssey. I'm good, no thank you. It's a vacuum. It's a conservative vacuum. It's a conspiracy theory vacuum. Who are you going to wake up on Odyssey that's not already awake? Who are you going to wake up on Rumble that's not already awake? You want to say the alt-right people on Rumble? Maybe. But how about the overall masses? Where are they? Are they on Rumble? Ask 10 kids out there if they know what Rumble is. They don't have the slightest clue, unless there's somebody who follows the Russell Brands of the world and have been lured over there. They're moving people like chess pieces where they want to move you. They've moved all conspiracy to one platform so they can monitor it over there. And of course, that's also so it doesn't bleed in to anybody like me or you waking up young teens out there who are all over YouTube, or Democrats out there who use YouTube as their platform because conservative voices aren't allowed on this platform. But you'll see as time goes by, right? You'll see that, yeah, they might start letting some alt-right voices remain on YouTube or back on YouTube. I mean, it still already has the Ben Shapiro's. They've never been censored on this platform. It's people like me and you who are censored, who pull people out of the left-right paradigm, especially the young teens out there who wake up to all this stuff. You think that, you're not suspicious at all that they have a huge problem with exposing music videos and signs and symbols, and how those videos get pulled quick and channels get removed quick with just content exposing that, versus some of the stuff you see every day on TV that they tell you can't talk about, which is hate speech with guys dressing as women, etc. They care more about exposing the signs and the symbols and waking people up to the occult. And that's really what they're trying to censor. So this is obviously a globalist agenda. It has been for a while. In fact, you might remember Lady Barfbag and Bill Gates in Bill Gates' documentary. I'm going to play this clip for you right now, where they were talking about and comparing it to a bully on the playground, right? Well, in real life, if a bully on the playground starts bullying kids, at least, you know who he is. You could see his face and you could tell your mom or dad, or you could tell a bigger authority to do something about it. Of course, they're referencing themselves as being Big Brother, literally in this clip, and being able to come after people like us. They like to call us keyboard warriors and all these other things. They have a tough time grasping that people like myself are not narcissists. I don't want my face plastered all over the planet. I don't want attention brought to me. I just want to get my message out, which is exposing the things that I expose. And what they want is to be able to know who you are, to be able to say, look, here's your online ID. You'll have to register your online ID to make a YouTube channel, to make a Rumble channel. And once you're deleted one time, you're gone forever. And guess what? If I was to go to somebody else and say, hey, can I use your digital ID? Well, it might get me back online temporarily, but then that person will be held accountable when the government says, hey, this guy is saying that Donald Trump is bringing the New World Order. That's 30 years in federal prison for hate speech, right? Kind of like everything goes in China. So here's Billy Gates and Lady Gaga talking about this exact topic.
I think it's not something that we can just blame social media for not making sure that they have better practices.
Well, we made it so easy to just post anything, so somebody who, on the playground would have been rude and nasty. A few dozen kids hear that, that's not great, but hopefully they'll grow up. But you're sitting in your own home. It's just, you just sit there and type.
What I think right away is, if enough people were on the playground shouting at each other at the same time, I feel like someone might calm it down.
On that playground, if, things go too out of control, there was some adult who would show up. And even when you attack somebody on the playground, you can see their face. Whereas when you're sitting there typing and you're feeling like you're so clever, you don't see that human reaction that makes you think twice about it. And even when you attack somebody on the playground, you can see their face. Whereas when you're sitting there typing and you're feeling like you're so clever, you don't see that human reaction that makes you think twice about it.
So again, one social media user ID, right? One ID. And people don't realize what that means. It means that once you're gone, you're gone. It means for anybody out there that has sock accounts, you like to troll people, well, they're going to use that against you too, because they're going to tell people, hey, you shouldn't be allowed to troll. You shouldn't be allowed to make multiple accounts. That way, if you're bullying somebody online, we'll be able to control your behavior because we'll remove you from the platform. And if you say something that we consider hate speech, like say the word, I don't know, gay, well, we'll show up at your front door and we'll arrest you because we consider that a bigger federal offense than somebody actually luring a child into a car and kidnapping them, right? Because that's the way that this government, our government, the global government, operates. They're afraid of truth because that's the only thing that could stop this locomotive from going forward is people getting sucked out of the left-right paradigm, people waking up to this small group of people who are responsible for doing all of this, what exactly they're doing, right? The ability that people like myself and many of you have to show people this where they go, holy crap, I can see this, right? That's an ability that I've had for quite some time, most of my life, being able to communicate and show people, right? That's a threat to them. It's a threat because their mind starts to awaken and they can go any way they want once they start waking up. They could stay here and listen to this content. There's so many people I've woken up just at a basic level, gone in different directions. They said, okay, well, I'm going to listen. I like this guy and I found somebody else. I'm into this specific topic and conspiracy more than that specific topic. But their awakening continues. They come out of the left-right paradigm. They don't want you to get pulled out of it. That's the point. That's why they're so hell-bent on making sure they could literally track you down. And look, it doesn't mean that they don't know who I am or you are. Of course they know already. The problem they have is us getting onto these platforms over and over and over again and being able to infiltrate it. They don't want you to be able to infiltrate the matrix, infiltrate their system. Now, there'll always be a way around it, I believe, until the mark of the beast is implemented. Because, like I said, I mean, you don't think you'll be able to find somebody who's desperate enough for quick cash to be able to let you, create a digital ID to go on to YouTube or somewhere else to be able to post. Now, that person might be held accountable at some point in the future, but say it's a guy living on the streets. He's not really going to care too much. If they show up and they say, hey, are you posting this? He goes, no, I'm not. Somebody's giving me $500. I mean, there'll always be a way to infiltrate until there isn't. And when there isn't, that's pretty much my opinion, when the mark of the beast will be implemented fully, where you won't be able to buy or sell on the internet without having this biometric digital ID. But I don't believe at first it'll start off as biometrics. I think it'll first start off where you could still use your cell phone and have a digital ID. And then, of course, when they tell you the cell phone's obsolete and this stuff has to go inside of your body and it's a part of your genetic code, and we're talking gene editing and all those other things, then we're talking deeper and deeper down this rabbit hole. But for the time being, they are just so obsessed with these topics, right? These are billionaires who are meeting. Think about this. Billionaires who are meeting. They're meeting over in Switzerland, right? They're all just so rich and have all these. This is what they care about. They care about people with multiple social media accounts. Why is that? Because they control the Alex Joneses of the world and the Tucker Carlsons of the world, but they don't control the people like us. They can't continually remove our content because every single day is an opportunity for us to wake somebody else up inside of the matrix, to pull them out. And that's why every single day when I wake up, I'm motivated to get content out there, to just get one person to say, whoa, who's this? What's this guy talking about? Wow, that is very interesting, right? He's not talking like Ben Shapiro or the controlled alt-right. He's saying that both sides are controlled. I've never heard that narrative before. Most people haven't. Most people actually in America haven't heard that both sides are controlled. That's how bad this has gotten. And when you tell MAGA people that, their heads explode. They can't even wrap their head around the fact that we would think the elections are rigged because their thinking is so surface level. But there's people out there that still can be woken up every single day that we don't have a digital ID in place. And that's motivation for me, just like it's motivation for them to end anonymity online. And it's why they're so obsessed with it. And they're going to trick you into thinking it has to do with protecting people's feelings and crimes being committed. The only crime being committed on social media is the embarrassment of people's behavior, where they post things like what they're eating for dinner or every move they make or their fingernails, or they try to make it look like their life is better than it really is, where they're kissing their loved one and taking a picture in front of a fountain to say, look, life has never been better, right? It's a mirage. Social media in general is, of course, a crime and an embarrassment, but they don't care. They want that behavior. That's controllable, manufactured behavior. They're the ones who have manufactured people into behaving like that on the internet. What they care about isn't people's feelings. What they care about is people like us. They care about people being able to expose the actual truth. And that's what I'll continue to do, and I'm sure that's what most of you will continue to do until, of course, this is implemented. And then we'll have to figure out another way to infiltrate, of course. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.